Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Lauren. Today we're going to be making this incredible gluten-free vanilla cake. This is the cake that I sell at my bakery. It's incredible, gluten-free, dairy-free, and just really fluffy, vanilla-y, but also like sturdy, can hold up to some frosting. This cake is somewhere between a chiffon and a sponge cake, so it's leavened by egg whites. It's super fluffy. It's not like the American style, like buttery, dense cakes. Like if you think of like a Milk Bar cake, it's kind of got like a Duncan Hines mix. What am I saying? Cake mix kind of a vibe, you know? Like super vanilla, in your face, fluffy. Let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is prepare our pans. I'm gonna be using yolk. 2 8-inch pans. You don't want to use, let me find it so I can show you. I can't find it. I'm using these aluminum cake pans because they have a higher side, which is good for chiffon cakes, but is also just really important in gluten-free baking because you want to kind of have these sides that the cake can climb and hold on to so that it can keep its shape. So you could also use a 6-inch cake pan and you'll make 4 layers with this. We're gonna do a big boy today. Don't gender the cake, Lauren. So my oven is preheated to 350. My oven is a liar, and it will say it's at 350, and then you put the cakes in and it's at 300. You wanna like preheat it, let it hit the heat, and then keep heating for at least 10 minutes before you put the cakes in. We're gonna start by prepping these pans. I use this lining paste. I learned this from Nancy Burstwhile, who is a contestant on Great British Bake Off and has the best Instagram. It's just equal parts of flour and oil, in my case, gluten-free flour, because if I eat gluten, I will perish. So I'm just gonna swirl it. If you don't wanna do this, you can also like grease it with some dairy-free butter or oil and then sprinkle flour in, or grease it again and line it with a parchment paper cake circle, but this is just easier. Like everything is all together. I just keep this jar for my cakes and nothing has ever stuck. That's a lie, things have stuck. But it's probably because I made the paste wrong. These cakes are fluffy, so you want to get it all the way up to the edge because you don't want it to like floof over and then stick to the edges. It would be so sad. I'm gonna put these back here. Okay, now we're gonna separate the eggs. I only had 5 eggs, so I had to ask my neighbor for 2 in case I messed up. This is gonna be our egg yolk bowl. This is the egg white bowl. This is the in-between bowl. You wanna make sure your eggs are at room temperature. They're gonna get a lot fluffier and it's gonna stop your cake batter from separating. Okay. When I worked in a pastry kitchen, I would always get in trouble for not separating the eggs perfectly. 1 yolk, 1 white. And I'm separating the eggs in this separate bowl because I don't want any of the yolk to get into the egg white mixture because getting fat in there, it's not gonna whip up and get as fluffy as you need. So you also wanna make sure that your mixing bowl and your whisk are super, super clean, no greasy remnants from the last time that you cooked. I got a little bit of shell in there. Can't see it because it keeps falling. It's a bigger piece, but if you can't get shell out, take the egg that you used to break it and it like cuts through the glue. Eggs are fun. Okay, I'm gonna wash my hands. Okay, so we have our 5 egg whites in here. I'm gonna add like a little pinch of cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is an acid, and it's gonna help to stabilize our egg whites so that they're buoyant, fluffy. And it's also an acid that is going to react to our baking powder when we add it to the rest of our cake mixture, which is gonna give us a bigger chemical reaction, fluffier cake, delicious. This isn't plugged in. I need an extension cord, my mixer isn't plugged in. We're just waiting to see when the egg whites get foamy. Second cam, can I get a shot on this mixer, please? Once it gets to like this foamy stage here, I have a cup of sugar. I'm gonna add about 1/3 of it while the mixer is running. Okay, I'm just gonna check on this. We want it a little bit more whipped than this. See, it's still kind of schloopy. Okay, so it's not at like super stiff peak because you don't want to risk overbeating it and it getting super dry. So we've got it like, it's still drippy. It holds, you know? I'm gonna give it a couple more seconds. Okay, now it's really ready. So we have like a medium peak. So it holds itself up, but it's not super stiff like you would if you were making a meringue for a pavlova or something like that. Okay, so while the egg whites are beating, we want to do this step. I didn't do it because sound. I've got my 5 egg yolks in this bowl, which you really can't see because they're the same color as the bowl. And I'm going to add the rest of the sugar. So it's about 2/3 of a cup to a cup of sugar. Again, it's not a big deal. I really shouldn't have used this bowl. Okay, so these egg yolks are not fully whisked. This is just mixing it a little bit, and you can see it's still like a darker yellow color, and there's lots of, you can see the granular pieces of sugar. So I'm gonna whisk it more than you think. Like, there's already such a huge color change. Like, look how pale that is. All right, this is about halfway there. We just wanted a little bit fluffier and for those sugar granules to dissolve a little bit more in the egg yolk. What's that sound? Okay, look at that. Super fluffy, so much more volume. Okay, so now we're gonna add 1/2 cup of neutral flavored oil. It could be sunflower oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, whatever. I prefer to use oil in my cakes instead of melted butter because those fats set up at room temperature when they're cold. So if you put your cake in the fridge and you take it out, those fats are gonna firm up. So you're gonna have a really dense, solid cake. But with oil, you don't have that problem. Okay, so again, just emulsifying. The egg yolks are really gonna help. Let's see, ribbons, gorgeous ribbons. Okay, and to finish this off, I'm gonna add, this is like a tablespoon of vanilla, but you can do a teaspoon. I don't know why I put so much. And 1/2 cup of milk. I'm using rice milk. You can use any oat milk, almond milk. I wouldn't use coconut milk from a can because it has too much fat in it. If you don't want to make this cake dairy-free, then you can totally just use regular milk from a cow. I don't know. And that goes into, give this a really good whisk. This can go here for now, and we're going to do dry ingredients somehow. You don't have to mix the dry ingredients in a separate bowl. You can just dump them in here if you don't feel like doing dishes. I get it, but we're gonna do this so that our dry ingredients can be really well incorporated, especially because we're working with xanathan gum, which like, if you get a chunk of it in your cake is like really bad. So I have 1 cup of gluten-free flour. This is my own mix that I make, which I will probably do a video explaining how I make it, but for now, like whatever you can find at the store. I like Pamela's as a brand, Anita's, Bob's Red Mill 1 for 1 or like cup for cup, but I would not recommend the Bob's Red Mill regular gluten-free flour. It looks like, if you see it in the store, it looks a little bit more yellow, and it actually has chickpea flour in it, which is really good for breads and stuff, but when we're baking cakes, it tastes like a bean. Why am I out of breath? I whisked too hard. So we have 1 cup of gluten-free flour. I have half a cup of almond flour here. If you don't have almond flour or if you're allergic to nuts, you can totally sub half a cup of more gluten-free flour blend. But this adds like a little bit of richness and it keeps the texture very delicate. If you want to try to make this recipe with like regular flour, gluten flour, I don't know if it works. So last things, we have our almond flour, gluten-free flour. I'm gonna add a teaspoon of salt. It kind of sounds like a lot, but it gives it that like boxed cake mix taste. The salt balances the sweetness of the frosting that we're gonna cover this cake in. I'm also gonna add half a teaspoon of baking powder. I do a heaping half teaspoon, like. We gotta like call in backups when you're doing gluten-free baking. And finally, we're gonna add half a teaspoon of xanathan gum, which is like our gluten sub. It's always better to go easier on the xanathan gum than too much because it can get this really gummy, chewy texture. So half a teaspoon, but like a modest half teaspoon. So whisk that so it's really well combined. And we're gonna add our dry to our egg yolk mixture and whisk. And you wanna whisk it pretty well. This isn't like baking with gluten where there's a concern of over-mixing or over-developing the gluten because it doesn't exist. Okay, beautiful. Keep this whisk. We still need it. I'm going to add like a little scoop of our egg whites. Maybe 2. Yeah, 2. And whisk that in. You want to use maybe a bigger whisk than this so that it doesn't knock any of the air bubbles out of your egg whites, but adding a little bit of the egg white into our cake batter. It's just gonna kind of loosen it up and make it a lot easier for us to fold in the egg whites. Okay, that is done. Get rid of your whisk, don't think about it. If you whisk again, you're gonna knock out all the air bubbles, so put it away. I'm gonna clear the rest of this in here. I hate on cooking shows when they leave a bunch of stuff in the bowl. Like, I just don't understand. Okay. And now we're gonna fold in the egg white. Cam. Okay, so you don't wanna see any ribbons of our like egg yolk cake batter running through this mixture. It's gonna be so very fluffy. Okay. Cake pans. If you want to be really accurate about getting equal parts in your cake pans, oh, this is dirty. I'm gonna use a kitchen scale. Okay, 1. Okay, that's it, like 310 grams. Got more. Okay, 14. These go in the oven for like 20 or 25 minutes. Okay, Tony, the cakes are in the oven. Okay, it's been like 20, 25 minutes, so I'm gonna take the cakes out. Ooh. Why? Oh my God. My babies. Now that we have hot things, you might be thinking, oh, is baking in a crop top a good idea? It's not. I have the scars to prove it. Stay back. Okay, so we have our cakes. They are spongy to the touch and like, there's no jiggle. We're gonna let these cool for like 30 seconds, and then we're gonna run an offset spatula just around the sides. And that's gonna prevent it from sticking, but also prevent it from sticking in a weird way, because sometimes it'll like stick in some parts and shrink in others, and then you end up with this like Franken cake. So I like to start by just doing like the upper part that's cut, and I do kind of an up-down motion so that we don't get any pull. Very gently do this bad boy too, so it doesn't feel left out. These are so gorgeous and they smell so good. What did I do last time? Oh no. And then just running that. But it's sticking to the edge, so we just want to stop that. It's gonna shrink down a little bit, that's okay. So we're gonna let these cool in the pans for 5 or 10 minutes. We're gonna flip them out and let them cool completely. I'd say it's better to let them stay longer in the pan than less time, because there's nothing worse than flipping a cake out and it falls apart. And especially because like we're not working with any gluten here. Ready? Look at that. Lining paste. That's just gonna stay there. Bam. Thing here, but that's okay. I have destroyed the nerve endings in my fingers. Yep, I'm gonna let these cool completely and then wrap them in plastic wrap and put them in the fridge so that we can frost them next time. This is my first ever video. We're gonna make a part 2, learning how to frost I'm gonna make a part 2 that's gonna teach you how to make like a beautiful buttercream frosting to frost this cake with it, and then we're gonna frost it and make it look like vintage and glorious and opulent. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you make this cake and it's delicious. Like and subscribe if you want to see more gluten-free baking videos, more cake decorating videos. Let me know what you want to see. If you're gluten-free or vegan or dairy-free, let me know what you miss and I can teach you how to make it. It would make me very happy. Yeah, thank you. Cake good. Cake good.